up. I'm going to bring up, in my opinion, because in my opinion, I have been talking behind the scenes about the context in regards to Martell and the Melody situation. So I'm going to bring her up first, but let me just put up the caller's stuff again. This is in my opinions, in her opinion. Okay, so I'm going to bring her up first. Hold on, in my opinion. In my opinion, are you there?
Hey, Kempire, how you doing today?
Oh, well, how are you?
You know I'm blessed by the best and highly favored. You looking
Amen.
good?
Thank you. How are you? How's what are you making for dinner? That's what I really want to ask you.
Well, we had some fried chicken tonight, so I kept it
Mm,
real simple. You
That's
know,
simple?
good old southern. Yeah, let me tell you something. These people here, they spoil. They be wanting full course meals and stuff. So, and baby girl, she be putting stuff on the menu she want. She be like, yeah, I need some steak and some lobster. And I told her, that girl, you expensive.
Oh, I'm saying. My goodness.
You hear?
Okay.
Go in there.
Uh,
Kemp, I don't want to hear you.
because
Good night.
we're about to talk about some grown stuff. We're about to talk about some grown stuff.
Yeah, I just locked out of my room. So, goodbye. Let me tell you something. I'm telling you, it's a lot of stuff I got to send you now.
Yeah. Oh my God. Even more stuff?
Yes, even more stuff. Because let me tell you something. I I think a lot of these people they watch this show and now they have formed this alliance.
Mm,
I think it's almost like they see somebody that's hurting and
mm,
they can validate that feeling because they felt that same hurt.
mm,
And to the point where this stuff has gotten them to the state where, oh, you got to stand for male or you male identified.
mm.
I'm standing for Jesus, okay? And what Jesus like is God's honest truth, okay? So when I see documents from a court system that says neither one of y'all is telling the truth,
Wow.
neither one of y'all are cooperating,
Oh,
and neither one of y'all are putting the kids' best interests at hand. And when I see the court allow them saying neither one of y'all are doing what's possible for these kids, it's like to me, okay, we seeing one thing on the TV, but this court system and they're seeing a whole different thing.
mm.
And so then I have to take it like that. But I'm gonna send you the rest of it because I only sent you the first part, but I gotta send you.
Well, let's first talk about the first part that you sent me. So, in regards to these court documents that you were able to obtain in regards to the custody battle, right, between Martell
Right.
Holt and
That was the
Melody.
custody order that was awarded on March the 1st,
Hmm.
2023. And
Mm.
it's at the top, it's stamped. Like I said, in Alabama, the only way to seal a document is both parties will have to say, we want them sealed. And
Mm.
that's in any case in Alabama.
Mm.
And so I guess they didn't think people was gonna get these documents.
My God.
So in these documents, the judge let both of them have it, but then kind of alluded that while Martell was making strides to do the right thing, she couldn't say the same for the mother.
Oh,
And that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way to the point where they were doxing people.
what?
Yes, these papers have gotten people doxxed. Like they are really doxing people. And I was like,
Doxing who
mm,
though? Like like their personal
the lawyer,
friends?
it was another lawyer that put it out on Miam's channel.
Oh.
And yeah. And so it got really, really bad. But Kempire, like, I just feel like when you get to the point where you're so involved in a case like this, that you're out here trying to find real people in the
Mm,
real world and putting their information out there, putting their life in danger, telling
mm.
people to go get them. I think you need to step away from reality TV because now you done lost all sight of reality and now we're committing crimes. Because
Wow.
it is a crime to put anybody information out there
Wow.
and to tell people to go get them. So, but it's a lot more documents that got to be sent to you.
Yeah. Oh my
So,
gosh.
and I will be sending them all to you tonight. I asked you first before I sent them to you.
Yes.
Did you even want them? I didn't know what you wanted to do
You
with
know
them.
how
I
I
was
feel
just
about that.
like,
And look, and this is where we're having the conversation because separate videos talking about this situation. So based on what you've sent me so far, it seems as if that there's this new court order in regards to Melody and Martell Holt. You said that
right.
at least with Martell, it looks like he's making strides at being a good
Right. Well,
co-parent.
this is what happened. So he was going for full custody.
Hmm.
and then she went for full custody.
Hmm.
And the judge was like, "No, y'all gonna share custody." Okay, and they split the holidays up. They split everything up.
Yes.
I think they got on in the documents. It said that they got on her because he has the first right to refusal.
Mm.
And what that means is if she has to get a babysitter, she's supposed to contact him first and give
Oh.
him the first right to say, yeah, I want to keep my kids or no. And she hadn't been doing that. Also, she's supposed to keep some kind of communication open.
Hmm.
And because she didn't, when something happened with one of their kids, he had to get in touch with somebody else to get in touch with her on social media
Because
just to
he's
tell them
blocked,
that something
right?
had happened with the kids. Right.
Because he's blocked.
So that was a part of it. And so the judge was like, look here, I'm going to need y'all to get it together and figure this out, co-parenting 50-50. So it didn't go in neither one of their favors. It went in the kids' favor.
Favor.
So they
As it
still got to
should.
share that 50-50 custody. I think people was really blown back by the questions that Martell attorney sent to Melody's attorney
Hmm.
because he was asking stuff like um, all your bank account information. Um, who are these people that's watching your kids? How many times you've had sex with people while you had your kids in your custody? And
That was
it was
what
really
Martell's attorney was asking Melody's attorney.
right. Well, they was asking the court to get the information of
How
I
many
guess
times
to
she was
see.
having sex?
Well, it was how many times you was having sex while you had the kids in your custody. It's a lot. Like I
Dang.
said, just the Alabama native trying to give you the whole
Yeah,
facts.
you're our on the ground reporter. In my opinion, here's the
I said,
thing.
I need to go to these court hearings and just start recording.
You
You know
really
what I'm
should.
saying?
I mean,
Like
I don't know
next
if you
time
can
they have a
legally do
court
that.
hearing.
Look, I don't know if you can legally do that. But I want to point out something in regards to Melody in her situation. Like I said, I do feel like Melody on some level was an abused woman because I know in some of these court documents,
Mm-mm, mm-mm. Don't say that yet. I told you.
wait. Hear me out. Hear me out. On some level, in regards to her blocking Martell on social media, blocking him from calling and things like that, part of me feels as if she did some of that because based on what we've seen, Martell seems to be very interested in rekindling this relationship. That's just my thought on some level. Doesn't mean that she went through the proper channels for this whole co-parenting situation, especially legally. Just in my
I'm
opinion.
gonna
Look,
see
just in my
gonna
opinion.
send you some more
Oh
documents,
Lord.
Kempire, and I'm gonna let you base your decision on that
Do you
because
know it off the top
there
of your head? Because
were
you could tell us now.
there were some abuse allegations on both ends,
Oh. Physical, mental?
physical
Oh. Wow.
on both ends, and obviously the physical abuse started years ago. And from the court documents, Mel has kicked, hit, punched, threw stuff at him, threatened to kill him.
Mm.
She's claiming that he's hit the kids. I think it's the little boy that they talking about in the court papers. Of course, they don't say which one it is, but people online have said it was the son, Tank. But they say the minor child in the court documents. They don't
Yeah.
release that information.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's abuse on both ends and it's really toxic.
Yeah.
And I feel like when we get into a situation where we're abusing each other or even the kids, like it's time for y'all to reevaluate where are we going with this. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like I feel like if the judge thought that there were any abuse toward the kids, I
Mm.
don't think they would have gave 50-50 custody to either one of them.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of this stuff is social media led.
Mm.
And then people say, "Hey, I'm gonna do this," "Hey, I'm gonna jump in on the bandwagon."
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm not basing it on nobody. I'm not team nobody. I'm not a millimeter. I'm not a hotel. Stay. None of that because that's what they calling them out here in these
I didn't
streets,
know.
hotel.
I didn't know that.
But I'm not neither one of them. I'm just Team Jesus, and Team Jesus said the courts must be seeing something we not seeing, and I'm just gonna keep you informed on everything when it drops.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And thank you so much for keeping us in the loop and giving us this update. And this is all for those that are just joining us. All of what, in my opinion, is saying these are from the documents that she's read that have played out in this custody battle in court. between Melody
Yes,
Holt
I
and
actually sent him the legal documents,
yeah.
the court documents stamped by the court. I ain't make this up. I ain't trying to take nobody's side. So all I'm saying, people, is when we taking sides, make sure you know the truth. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Because ride for Jesus.
On this Sunday afternoon.
But have a good day,
You
Kempire.
too. Thank you so much for taking time out of your afternoon to be here. So thank you.
All right, bye bye.
Bye. I appreciate that. We're gonna have to continue to follow this story. But like I said, look, there are two sides to every story. And one of the things that stood out to me in regards to what, in my opinion, just brought up was that now Martell has been granted first right to I forget the term, but basically, if she doesn't have a babysitter, we were just talking about this last week, that she would be able to, if she doesn't have a babysitter, that she has to contact him to let him know, so that way, if he's busy, he has the first right to be like, "I'm busy," find another babysitter. Because remember that was his big issue with Melody, the big issue that he's been making on the show. Here's the other thing that I find interesting, especially with this situation being so toxic in court. How are you filming a reality show? Look, Martell needs the show. And I'm not going to say Melody needs it too, because to help promote all the other things that she's doing. But you both are on this reality show and you have this real life court situation happening. I don't believe this reality show is helping their co parenting situation. If anything, it's making it worse. And it's a lot worse than what we've seen play out on this show. And this is another reason why I said I feel like what we're seeing between Melody and Martell is lacking context. That is what I'm talking about. There's so much more that's going on that they're not talking about on the show that is happening in their lives, and why the situations. Oh, let me walk you to your car. No, don't walk me to my car, because we have a real life situation. Like, we don't need to be near each other when we don't need to be. Then next week's episode, we see exactly Melody telling him he cannot attend this birthday party. I have questions in regards to that. Is it his weekend? They already have a very volatile situation, and if he's not following the guidelines that have been put in place by the court, I'm not sure exactly if during this time these guidelines were already put in place. But if it's not his weekend, Martell, go home. I get it. You want to be there and celebrate with your baby girl. It's not your week. Go home, because you're not following the rules either. And I know Martell will be like, well, she doesn't follow the rules. No, at this point forward, based off of what the court says, everyone needs to be following the rules. Everyone needs to be following rules. In my opinion, it says so much, and the kids are the kids are obviously suffering in this situation. No matter how both Martell and remember Martell and Melody were like, oh no, the kids are good. Da, da, da. You guys think that they're good. But based off what we're seeing, these kids are probably can't possibly be good with this amount of toxicity around them. And I'm glad that the court is really stepping in and doing the right thing for the children over what these parents are saying. Super chat, in my opinion, thank you so much for the super chat. She says, it's in the court order for him to be, oh. So according to, in my opinion, it's in the court order for Martell to be at the birthday party. Oh, well then, Melody, you're wrong. You're wrong. Unless this was filmed before this court order. See, that's the thing. We don't know the timeline of when this was filmed. Unless this was decided afterwards. The judge could have been like, well, going forward, birthday parties, this, and that. Maybe. All right. Let's get to some callers. All right. Mo Reality, I'm going to bring you up first. What's going on, Mo Reality?
Hey, Kempire.
How are you?
God, it's been a little minute. I've been missing
I
lives.
know, it's okay.
I am good. So I'm gonna just get right to it because I fully came prepared to crack jokes and talk about Tisha and Marcel. But with in my opinion, in that whole discussion, I'm gonna just go ahead and do this. And I am not gonna share anything else personal after this. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm just gonna go in my heart, and I just feel I'm gonna just go ahead and share. So, with this whole custody stuff, I've tried to kind of stay away from kind of learning about their custody battle because it is triggering for me personally.
Mm.
Um, like the end of 20, I'm gonna try to make it quick. About the end of 2018, my daughter wanted to visit her nana. And she had not on her dad's side, and she hadn't seen them in like a couple of months because of his missed visits and whatever. So I took her to visit them. This is summertime, and then basically, yeah, I've been fighting to get my daughter back ever since.
Oh, wow.
They essentially stole my daughter, like court assisted, like kidnapped, basically, by filing like a court order and putting everything that you could think of in this court order, and just doing whatever they wanted to do. Basically, they had like my old landlord sign this paperwork that I should have signed, and that's how it defaulted to them getting. They asked for 63 days out of the year, leaving me 2 days, my birthday and Mother's Day, and this was granted to them without me ever even knowing. So when I go to pick up my daughter, I can't find them. So when I found out everything, of course, like this, my daughter is all that I had, you know. And so I'm fighting this thing. I had two pro bono lawyers come on. They heard our story, and they came on and they dropped. Like the first one dropped before the first court date. So I had to go in. I had to represent myself. It was about an 8-month journey, and in that journey, it is the hardest journey of my life, fighting for my daughter. And what I learned about the court system, family court, is it's not about. It really isn't necessarily about. I won't say it's. I won't say it's not about the best interest of the child. It's more so what looks good on paper, how you show up, and what that judge is going to kind of assess and believe for themselves. Because I showed up with truth. I showed up with receipts. And they printed whatever they wanted to print it in these court orders. So, you know, when you're reading these things and you're reading what's in these documents for Mel and Martell, you know, it's whatever they chose to put on that paperwork. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that it's true. When I say so much was printed, and so I'm like looking at it in hindsight now, I'm like, well, yes, they had to say everything that they could possibly say in order for a judge to allow an emergency ex parte order for them to steal my daughter. And then I've been fighting like hell to get her back unsuccessfully, and they've gotten away with everything. You know what I'm saying? And so for her, for both of them, I'm sure it's hard, but just kind of seeing what has been played out as far as Martell's character and how low and how evil he can go, I'm sure it's incredibly hard. It has to be incredibly hard to go through. You know, Mel gets to see her children. I haven't seen my daughter in 3 years. And you know, having my son, it was definitely unplanned, and I thought she would think I moved on with my life without her. And my daughter's so smart. I've taught her a lot of different things. You know, if anything ever happens, you know, this is what we do. Stranger danger. You know, she downloaded any type of electronic they gave her. She was 10 at the time. She downloaded a phone, and that's how she contacted me. And so when I said all that to say that any custody battle, it's so hard because it brings out the absolute worst in both parties. You know what I'm saying? I came with truth, but I left in rage. In rage. You know what I'm saying? These are your children. And when you know, like, your heart is good, and this is no, I've tried to work with you guys, and and once they got her, the venom and the evil that was exposed, like, it's a lot to this thing. You know what I'm saying?
So one of the things that I want to point out, so what you're basically saying is that not everything is as it appears what you see in court documents.
Absolutely not. You know what I'm saying? Because now what happens is it pushes you so far up against the wall. Like I said, with that situation, now you're feeling like, well, do I need to say everything?
Mm.
Because if Martell is coming out and he's, allegedly saying these things like, oh, well, she hit me and she did this, and you're bringing up arguments that we had. Now you're like, well, do I need to bring up this? It brings out the worst in each party. And then
Mm.
you're using whatever you can to weaponize against one another. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of the times what happens is the judge don't know neither one of you.
Yeah.
And all they see is a fight happening. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what boils down to it, And I came there, like that first time I came with truth, and after that I left with rage.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Now what do I need to do? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It's just it's a lot, and money plays a part. I was by myself.
Mm.
8 months in that courtroom by myself. He showed up with all of his family that had nothing to do with my daughter ever in her life. But because it looked like he had more support, he
Mm.
had more, you know what I'm saying?
No.
It
Mm.
went in his favor, or it stayed in his favor, even though they stole her.
Mm.
And I proved that. It's a lot to it, okay? And it takes a lot of money.
Mm.
It takes a lot of a lot of it drains the life out of you.
Yeah.
You have to have support. You have to. Aside from money, you need support
Definitely.
to hold you up, because it is not easy. You know what I'm saying? So, okay. That's it.
I'm so sorry, More Reality. We are all going to pray for you and that your daughter and you are reunited very, very soon.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know what led me to share that, because I don't share. I really stay to myself, because life, it can get so hard, and when it's been that way, for so many years, you start to isolate yourself from
Mm.
people. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? And Mother's Day is coming up,
Mm.
and so it is an emotional time for me just in general, but
Yeah.
I know that there may be somebody out there who may be encouraged, you know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, by, my my right now, because it is my testimony, but it's also my right now. You know what I'm saying? So,
Definitely.
ah,
Thank you so much for
I just opened up
sharing.
on the platform. Oh my God.
Thank you so much for calling in, More Reality.
Yes, no problem. You guys have a blessed
You
Sunday.
too. Take care. A lot of what More Reality just shared for me is very poignant in regards to what we're talking about when it comes to Melody and Martell's situation. It is not so, cut and dry. It's not so black and white on what we see in court documents as well. And I always feel like there is more context to what's going on between them. And I don't believe being on a reality show is helping them at all. And at the end of the day, they have to come to a choice. Is us having a good co-parenting situation more important than reality TV? Because I know in their head they're probably justifying, well, we have to be able to provide for these children, so we need this reality show, and blah 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 blah. I don't see it helping that situation, in my personal opinion. Let's get to some more callers. Hey, Nicole.
Hey, Kempire, how you
I'm
doing?
well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Morality, the caller, my heart is touching with you because I know Mother's Day is coming up,
Mm.
and I'm a daughter that I want to give you some solace and some peace. Where my mom is American, my father is African, West African. So, in the African system, you don't have no such thing as, child support.
Mm.
So I'm 49 years old and I'm still looking for my child support. I know it's a couple of $1 million.
Nope.
But when I'm trying to uplift these women to make them understand that regardless, because my father was very petty too
Mm.
towards my mother.
Mm.
He tried to kidnap me twice. He tried to lose me on the continent of Africa. That's why she had to bring me back to America. It's really deep. It's a story.
Mm.
But what I'm trying to say to the mothers is like, regardless of what the father is doing and what kind of ill wills he's trying to bring into that child or children's life, trust me, as children growing up, we see it, we understand it. My mother was never a bitter woman. She never went back and forth. or, she didn't have the opportunity to go back to the court system because this is an international level at this point. But I watched my mother push forward, raise me to be the strong woman that I am. But it was because of me being a child growing up and just understanding with the intuition, like something's not right, something's off. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is giving peace and grace to these women up here, mothers, and just letting you know that regardless if you're not with the child right now, the children know, the child and the children know. Because what's going to happen is when they get old enough and when they have to confront the father for the bitterness and for all the pettiness, that's why I don't like Martell too much, because he just reminds me of that weak type of man. So I just wanted to say that to all the women around the world. Keep your head up, keep fighting it, cry it out, but it's all good. You just never know who else is going through the same steps you're going through, but it's all good, sweetheart. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Nicole. All right. I have such a great community. You guys are so uplifting to one another. I love it. I love it. And for those of you that are a part of the replay crew, I want to hear your thoughts and your experiences in the live chat, in the comment section as well. And I see that you guys are sharing your thoughts in the live chat. And Things of the Nature Review says, it's not in the court order or any papers that Martell can attend events during Melody's time. I do find that interesting because I don't know if I've ever seen that where a parent, if they're on, it's like separate, they have joint custody at mutual like birthday events and things like that. I haven't seen it, but I haven't really been in custody about it, but I've covered a lot of them. I've never seen that myself. I would have to see it in writing for myself to see that the judge says no, he must attend, these events. I've never seen that before, but you never know. It might be in the court order. We shall see. Danielle, thank you so much for the super chat. Danielle says, my dad and or dad's aunts tried to take me from my mom. Oh, damn. Well, we're learning all about our community today. Wow. I feel like Nicole's story, Nicole who just called in, I feel like we've heard about that happening before, especially with fathers from Africa, right? Don't we feel like we've heard that before? Damn. Cariel, are you there?
That is just my full name.
All right. We're just learning the full name. Okay. All right, Kari, what are your thoughts?
Kind of like Mo, I initially came in with like a whole bunch of zingers and one-liners for Tisha and Marceau and whatnot. But I kind of wanted to give my perspective as well from the family court situation, because I literally have court next month on the 10th for child support with my child's father. And I kind of can attest to what Mo Reality said about it's about what the judge sees. When we had our first court hearing, my child's father said that he didn't want any parenting time. He didn't want to be around he didn't even want to meet him. He still has never met him. And because I said that, okay, well then there's no future for parenting time. My child is in a revolving door or a joystick that you can pick up and put down whenever you want to play with it. The judge told me, looked me dead in my face and told me that I need to stop being so upset that our relationship didn't last. And that if he wants to be a parent in the future, that I just need to let him. Despite the fact that that man said that he didn't want to be a dad. The judge sat there and heard that this man said that he didn't give him the proper financial records that could attest that he was earning more than what he said that he was making, which is why his other child ended up getting more in child support than I did. But he didn't get them for fraud. He just, okay, we understand what you're saying, sir. She'll have to go and refile, which is why we're going back to court, because I know he got a $10,000 raise. And so when it comes to these judges and it comes to these referees and family court, I think people forget, which is why people get called male identified, is that the system is very misogynistic. You overlook how misogynistic the system is. You overlook how they expect women to sacrifice their happiness, their well-being, everything, just for a man to finally be able to do what he was supposed to do in the beginning. All those things that I heard from that court report about Martell and Melody, those were things that the judge is allowing Martell to overstep his boundaries, which he'd been wanting to do. He gets first rights. That means that when Mel calls him and say, hey, do you want your kids tonight? He gets to say, what are you doing? Where are you going? Who are you going to be with? Y'all heard.
Keep going.
following what's up. So that means that he's gonna pull up, stalk, and follow her. He might drop the kids off with his mama, who always encourages his shenanigans and say, hey, here go your grandchildren, and then go and follow Melody. Y'all are not realizing that she is not wanting to do these things because it means that she has to sacrifice this little bits and pieces of her. And we do not have to sacrifice little bits and pieces of us for us as women to be whole parents. If he wants to be a whole parent, if he wants to be a good upstanding parent, he don't need to do all those things. He don't need those things from Melody. He just needs to be. And so y'all want Melody to sacrifice herself, which is not good for the kids. Because when she's over there miserable, when she's over there crying, when she's upset, when she's lashing out, how is that good for the kids? At this point, it is all in Martell's hands. Just like with me. It was all in his hands. He wanted to be a dad. Now he don't want to be no dad. But guess what I got to do? I always got to text him, despite the fact that I know that this man is going to ignore me and say, hey, do you ever want to meet your child? Da-da-this, da-da-that. So I can take it back to family court and be like, hey, he has a live-in girlfriend that he started dating when our son was 3 months old in the hospital with a feeding tube. And I texted him and asked him if he could come to the hospital, and he ignored me. The judge, we're going back to court because we had court this month. The judge said that even though he knows that he works overtime, he's not going to have that overtime count towards his child support because he don't think it's fair that people work overtime. I don't think it's fair that I'm raising a child that I didn't lay down and make by myself. But guess what? I'm doing it 10 toes down, 24/7, 365 days a week, and I'm doing it damn good. So no one gets to second guess women while there are men out here that are flagrantly not doing what they're supposed to do, that are flagrantly showing you in your face. I have the propensity to be abusive. I have the propensity to stalk this woman. I have the propensity to harass this woman. And because in the court papers, it says, well, Mel's not upholding her part, those parts are not letting him take advantage of her using the court system. It is not fair. The court is misogynistic, and people tend to follow with the misogynistic mindset that was instilled in them due to society. And that's all I wanted to say.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your personal story and to give us perspective on the situation, Kari.
No problem. When Morality was talking, I was like, I'm gonna back her up. I'm gonna back her up because I got some personal stuff, and I can say, yeah, it's not just her story. It's not just Mel's story. It's a lot of women's stories. These judges are super heavily misogynistic. Someone that has never met that woman's child, that has never been around that woman's child, now have that woman's freaking child, and she has not seen her child in 3 years. And y'all don't think these courts are disgustingly misogynistic? And now I'm sitting here scared, wondering, is that gonna happen to me someday?
Well, and it's a valid fear. I hope not. Kari, thank you so much for calling in. This is probably one of the best parts of my job is hearing about your personal stories and how it relates to the pop culture conversations that we're having, because these are real stories. So very much unlike the lack of reality that we get on reality TV or the lack of context, when you guys call in and give your context, it really gives this story the point of why we need to hear these stories and how our justice systems need to be improved. Let me bring up Amy J, because Amy loves this show so much. Right, Amy?
Of course.
What's going on, Amy?
I'm just in the car and the rest of them. I had the same. I'm not gonna talk that long, and I'm not gonna cry because my situation is a long time ago. Okay. Ooh. But my situation was kind of similar in regards to, like, when you go to court, you have this idea that they want to do things fairly, right? And you get into those spaces and you're like, wait a minute, this person is literally judging me. Like, the judge will sit there and say, you haven't worked, or they will say, oh, this person is incapable. And you're sitting there like, I'm being like you're just completely getting it all wrong, and you don't know this individual you're backing up. But what I will say to the women that are going through these things, there is a push in general in the courts to get men more involved. And it has everything to do, and that's the thing that helped me heal from it, because in my situation, my ex was very much favored in the court system. His sister is an attorney. When I remember going into my court trial, they were laughing and chuckling up, talking about what they're going to do for their vacation. And I'm sitting there like, is this really going on? Am I going to have a fair shot? And I didn't. But it wasn't that I didn't get to see my daughter. It literally, I had to deal with someone who knew he had power to make my life very, very miserable. And for a very long time, I was struggling. I think that's what Melanie's going through. It's not that she wants to exclude him from things. It's very much hard to deal with somebody who is abusing a system and then also abusing and taking away your rights as an individual in the process. But I will say, in general, with these court systems, they do want men more involved, and their way of doing it is kind of like unwrapping this thing they had already created where someone gets favored when it really should just be the child.
Mm.
And for me, it took a very long time, tears and everything else. My child was not taken away from me, so I did not have that experience. But I did have the experience of having to co-parent with somebody who was constantly making it very difficult. I remember not having a vehicle and walking 2 miles to drop my daughter off
Ooh.
from school every day and picking her up when she was 4 and 5 years old because he put her in a school that was 40 minutes away from my home.
Mm.
And he knew I wasn't in a car. And he knew that me doing this, I would never be able to get a really good paying job because I have to get up at 7 and 6 o'clock in the morning and walk her up this big hill. And I did it because I was like, you're not going to prevent me from being around my child. But those things bring bitterness and hurt in your heart. But it took a very long time, and I'll say this, for him to finally get it, where he understood just because a court gives you those rights doesn't mean they want the best from you. A
Mm.
lot of times people can go extremely like super over the bridge because they're getting supported, especially Black men. They will go to an extreme and become abusive themselves, but it takes a minute for them to finally click in and realize it's about their kid. And their
Mm.
kid is the most important. So you might be getting a call, Mo, reality in a couple of years when she's a teenager and they cannot support her and they know she needs her mother.
Mm.
And that happened with me. My child was not doing well, and he came and got me and was
Mm.
like, "Look, we got to fix this. I made a mistake of going to an extreme, and now it's time to balance it." And that's what I'm praying for, Ramon, for Melody and the rest of them. There will be a point when a person who really, truly, genuinely cares about the child will get it, and then
Mm.
they will come and do what's right for the child. And that's all I have to say.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Amy, thank you so much for calling in and sharing your experience.
No problem. Have a nice one,
You
y'all.
too. Take care. Woo! I guess this is what Andy Cohen talked about. You learn a lot from doing this job. Look, I learn a lot from you. But again, we are the community that twerks on the fence. We can see both sides of the situation. But this was a really great conversation. You made a okay episode, an even fantastic conversation.